This is probably very likely the best single-player space game out there. I've said it many times before, and depending on how you view it, it's quite possibly the largest space game available, and that's because of the amount of depth that is here. I'm not talking about breadth. There's plenty of games that are bigger in terms of width, but this one has a huge amount of depth, and it's about to get a truly massive update in the form of a diplomacy update. And this one's going to be entirely free, coming later this year. Incidentally, another thing I really love about X4 are these environments. Just look at the aesthetic. The design of the space stations, the design of the environments is something we really don't see anywhere else. Star Citizen touches on some of this, perhaps arguably visually superior because of its better graphics engine, but well, I think I prefer the design of what we see here. Anyway, diplomacy, what's this all about? Well, there's going to be diplomats in the game and a player headquarters. A diplomatic hub, players here will be able to host diplomats from various different in-game factions. And they're about to do this as well at the player headquarters, enabling advanced interaction with all of these factions, and this means that the station can become a centre for managing your diplomatic relations. It sounds like a very different approach to the game because right now everything is either about economy or war. That's basically how you defeat or beat your opponents. You basically make the largest trade empire you can or beat them into submission. Diplomacy is going to add an entirely different angle to this. Now, when it comes to X4, you don't just have your own ship, you in fact have a fleet of ships, and these can be controlled by NPCs, employees effectively, that you hire. The same is true for space stations. You can manage all of these remotely and have other people work on board them for you. This system is going to be extending a lot further with the concept of agents. You'll be having agents who work, I guess, as covert operations or, well, I guess, diplomatic channels about to manipulate the diplomatic process between you and other factions. There's not too much details on exactly how this works, but some people are speculating that our agents will specialise in covert operations such as espionage and influencing faction dynamics. It's going to be very interesting to see how this actually pans out. Diplomacy then opens up an entirely new can of worms. It's going to represent a distinct variation, a different way to play X4. If you fancy moving away a little bit from trade or perhaps enhancing your trade, tariffs and whatnot. Did I say that? And combat, yeah, you've got all of that as well. But if you really want to go into the diplomatic channels, then yeah, that's there as well. It's going to be pretty neat to see this. Now, additionally, yesterday, Egosoft also released another video. This one was pretty long, 20 minutes long in fact. I'm going to include it in the video description. It goes into extensive detail as to everything you need to know about X4 as it stands today. And if you have never played the game, I highly recommend you watching this because yes, it is one of the best space games out there and definitely one, if not the best, single-player space game. You're going to have things such as, well, what Egosoft themselves called as a universe in a box. In fact, I pretty much called X4 exactly the same thing in a recent video. Perhaps one of the things that makes this game most compelling is the persistent nature of its simulation. And yes, you get this on online worlds, and here it's entirely offline. It's running on your local PC. It's basically a huge save game, but everything is fully simulated. And this includes every ship and every station. It's an immense universe that's similar to an MMO in execution, but with a single player speed. And that means there's a lot more depth than you'll find in a traditional MMO. Thousands of NPCs who trade, fight, mine, and produce goods, whether the player is present or not. The game also has one of the most comprehensive economies in any space game, perhaps rivaling EVE Online. I don't know if that's a bit too much of a bold statement, but there is a realistic economy here where player actions have meaningful impacts. Destroying transporter ships, for example, creates a demand for goods, and lost fighters generate demand for new ships at shipyards. In short, everything is interconnected. In terms of gameplay then, as with many of these games, you do start small and you grow large. Players begin with a single small ship and can progressively expand to commanding multiple ships, fleets, stations, and eventually entire empires, all through trade, combat, and eventually diplomatic relations as well with the new update. And because this is a single player game and it's not run on servers, the nature of that really does allow for faster progression if you want. And this enables players to hire pilots and own multiple ships, and you can do all of this within hours. You also have whole modding community as well, and there's some absolutely stunning mods out there. And for those of you who enjoy getting up out of your pilot seat, out of your ship, there's also ship interiors here, as well as full-on station exploration as well. You can walk around all those amazing stations, not to mention visiting the bridges of those vast capital ships that are flying around. I'm barely touching the surface here then of what's available to play and do in X4 Foundations. Do check out Egosoft's rather long video in the video description, and there's also that diplomacy trailer if you want to check that out as well. Thanks for watching this video. There is another one on the screen right here if you want to check that out. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.